Good afternoon. Happy Lunchtime Live here at the Tijuana River National Estuarine Research Reserve. And I thought I would just open today's Lunchtime Live with a live shot of the north end of the salt marsh estuary here by the Visitor Center, north end of the Research Reserve, and Seacoast Drive and the Pacific Ocean across the marsh from where I'm standing. Can everyone hear me all right? Hi, Donna. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Maria, the regular host of Lunchtime Live, and I'm sorry I missed you guys last week. Hello from New York City. Great to see you there. I was in Washington, D.C. all of last week. The sound is good. Excellent. Thank you, Anne. Nice to see you there, too. And here I are standing at the very the northeast of the northwest corner of the Research Reserve. And hi, Mark. Thanks for the feedback there. And I'm standing again basically at the corner, between the corner of 3rd and Caspian, which I'll pan to in just a second, right there, and the 3rd and Ivy Boulevard. So if you are someone who knows us and knows us well, you know probably exactly where I'm standing. And there's those helicopters. All right, and you can see it's a beautiful day here at the Tijuana Estuary. Finally, that heat wave is over. And yes, it is a lovely day. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Lunchtime Live. We love our Facebook friends, and we hope we have some new friends joining us today. And again, I'm sorry I missed you last week. I hope everyone had a chance to tune in to our Tijuana River Action Month series that we ended with 2 sessions ago, or 2 weeks ago, and then took a break where we were broadcasting from the Tijuana River Valley. But today we are back up at the Visitor Center, close to the Visitor Center, for our for today's subject of Lunchtime Live, which is I want to show off the Shaw's Agave, sometimes called the coastal agave. And for those of you who are familiar with the Shaw's Agave, you can see there is a stand of it just behind me, right? So I am standing off trail, which I've removed my mask. I am off trail here, close to the street, but off trail. And and if you are a friend of ours and a subscriber to our monthly e-newsletter, which I encourage you to do if you aren't already, you may have seen already this month we highlighted the Shaw's Agave with our wonderful docent, Jan, who typically does nature walks. I'm doing sort of the virtual version of what she might do these days. And she did a nice write-up for us on the Shaw's Agave. And if you've been to the Visitor Center recently, you know that there is one very close to the entrance that is very showy. I'd love to show off, but this stand is appropriate for today's Lunchtime Live. If you have questions throughout the session, please ask them. I'm doing my best to read them and answer them either during the broadcast or later when it's over through the recording. So feel free to share any photos that you might have and ask any questions that are kind of related to this program. Our trails have been open. They never closed during COVID. Our parking lot closed for a little while. It's open. It's been open as well as our restrooms, but our visitor center is closed. It is the only thing that is closed. Our trails are open. And if you choose to use our trails, Please remember, we are asking everyone to follow that social distancing, mask wearing, washing hands, and using hand sanitizer when we weren't, when washing hands is not available. So, Sue, I see your comment there, and we're going to get into that into just a second. So the Shaw's agave, also known as the coastal agave, getting its name from its location. So this plant has a very specific coastal range from Baja, California, and just into the south part of, or the southern San Diego County into the middle part of the county. So it's a very specific range where it is found in more wild in Baja and in San Diego County in just a few locations. So it is, it resides on the, it is found on the coast. The moisture in the air, the temperature, the types of soil that are found on that Pacific coastline in that area are what the agave requires, the coastal agave. So here at the Tijuana Estuary, we have a few of these around. You may have seen them at Torrey Pines, Cabrillo. There's not a lot of places in San Diego where you can find them. And anyone guess why that might be? This is a succulent species that prefers the coastal community. I guess requires, more than prefers, requires the coastal community. And as you might imagine, we have developed quite a bit of our coast here. So loss of habitat, of places for these plants to thrive doesn't really exist anymore. But okay, yes, Deborah. Great, thank you. And I have not been to Baja in a very long time, but from what I've read, it is much more common to see them there. Yes, Mark, development, that is right. So let's get you guys off of the tripod and not looking at me anymore, and let's take a closer look at the Shaw's agave. Agave showy. So not too difficult to remember that name, that scientific name for those of you that are interested in more than just the common name. So Shaw's agave or coastal agave. And we're going to turn this around. And this is a plant I think it was Sue that mentioned something about it looking like an asparagus. We'll get into that in a second. But this plant is found in the asparagus-like family. Okay, so there is a bit of confusion. There was the Agaveaceae family, which then became a subfamily of the Asparagaceae family. So, and we'll get into the reason of the asparagus family in just a minute. So you can see the Shaw's agave is a rather large succulent with very long sword-like leaves that are very thick and heavy. So you can see the leaves all start at the base of the plant there, forming what we might call a rosette. Okay, it's got this rosette, rounded, formed shape with the leaves. And if you've ever been up close to an agave, you can see these leaves are quite thick. Sorry, the sun is, this time of year, at those angles that make things a little bit more challenging. But I'm giving this a tap here, and I don't know if you can sense the feeling that I might have. It's very smooth and very heavy, very thick. So this is a succulent. So whatever water it gets, it holds onto. And creates a fibrous material, a flesh, so to speak, within these very thick, sword-like, maybe ovate, pointed, very pointed, and I won't try to touch that, tips of the leaves there. And we can see along the edge of the leaves, the margins. These margins are toothed. These are the toothed margins. I won't attempt to touch those there, but they are very sharp, giving this plant that protection it needs, as this is a perennial species growing and thriving and living for a fairly long time. So this is a slow-growing plant. If you have seen these here at the Tijuana Estuary, noticing them, they grow very slowly over time. And here, in this area, we have what we might be known as a cluster. This is a cluster of agave rosettes. And you can see them here. And you may notice also that there is a dead one back there. So again, long sword-like leaves growing, almost this plant can get up to about 3 feet, 4 feet wide, depending. Okay? And we see its height here of the leaves, to be about 3 to 4 feet high. However, we see this large stalk. This large stalk. Going back to Sue's comment, how they look like asparagus. They look exactly like asparagus. Hence, I guess, the Asparagaceae family. Now, there are some questions about pollinators and bats and what are they used for. We'll get into that in just a second. I just want to talk a little bit about the life history here of the Shaw's agave. So this is a plant, again, it's very slow growing. 20, 30 years they will grow, and then roughly about 20, 30 years, they then expend all their energy to grow this large spike. The stalk, this spike, I believe called a panicle, okay? Which then will bloom. It's one bloom a year, okay? Now this bloom, which if you saw the e-news and the bloom on the one by the visitor center, I didn't want to use that individual because I couldn't get up close to it, so that I could show you this plant up close. Too much vegetation around it. But I brought a picture with me of the bloom. So at the end, the very end of those, of the spike there, they will open up, and you will see these, what we call umbels. It's kind of lateral shaped flower clusters on each umbel. So the flowers, yellow or red, I see mostly yellow that I've seen, but apparently they also flower red with these kind of purpley leaves that fall from them. And then we can see that the flowers kind of in this upright position at the end, kind of looking like a bit of a tree. And yes, so the agave, Shaw's agave, will spend all its energy to grow these spikes. Okay? And sometimes around here, when we're fully staffed and feeling lighthearted, we take bets on when they will open around here. And then, after all of that energy is expended and the flowers have bloomed and hopefully pollinated, which I'll get to in a second, that rosette will die. And as you can see over there, we have one of the rosettes from this cluster has already sent up its stalk and has expired, has died. Close to me here is another one. And over there, if you guys can see that, you can see that dead flower stalk from an earlier bloom on that. So these flowers will be pollinated, will attract, I should say, insects. I've seen bees, I've seen hummingbirds that come to these, to the Shaw's Agave flowers, some moths as well. But really the important pollinator for the Shaw's Agave is the Mexican long-tongued bat. The Mexican long-tongued bat. And if you read about other species of agave, there are bats, specific bat species that are the important pollinators for specific agaves. And one of the issues is that the Mexican long-tongued bat hasn't really been found here up until, from things I've read from studies that were from a couple of years ago. So there really are missing not just the coastal habitat here, but the important pollinator for these species. And then there was this question, so the important pollinator, the bats, are then, spreading that genetic diversity around when that occurs. This species, this plant, though, like you say, I showed you here, it grows in these it can grow in these clusters, and that is from what we call like pupping or rhizomes. So sometimes you'll see them in clusters like this, and then sometimes you'll see them just as an individual. So not exactly sure what sparks them to pup, but it is a way of spreading, of clustering and creating more individuals, but then they are exact replicates. Then the genetic diversity there is not is not really there as would occur when they are pollinated. So the Mexican long-tongued bat, the important pollinator of this beautiful succulent. Look at those patterns in nature. Now I did want to get up close. I'm gonna use our macro lens here. If I can get it on just right, which I like to do. And let's take a look at, there we go, those teeth, and then the indentation within those thick fibrous leaves that are left when those sword-like leaves open up from that. If you guys can see that, I hope this is not too blurry. Hard for me to see, there's so much glare. But those tooth-like pattern that's in the flesh of the leaf. Yes, the photo of the blooms looks like something from under the sea. Yeah, this is a very cool plant. Very smooth, very, I want to say like clean lines, right? Geometric patterns, very, so we call this the stalk here, not toothed like the leaves. The flower stalk not toothed like the leaves, and these will get up 12, 13 feet high. They don't have to. Behind here in the center, you see those little guys? Those little stalks, shorter stalks. Maybe that one over there is probably about 5 feet high. Okay. So if these all bloom at once, it's quite a spectacle. All right. So this is a plant. There is cultivation of this plant. You can find them in specific nurseries where you can grow them at home. There are studies of pollinating, hand pollinating them. They're able to get seeds this way so that we can sell them. But as far as new ones just kind of growing naturally, that has not occurred with this species. So really something to be aware of and concerned. So, good question, Bob. Are they edible? So this plant has quite a bit of Native American uses. Kumei found and used this plant for so many things. Food is one. So these stalks, these large stalks and roots, which we aren't going to be able to see, were roasted and eaten. Everything with enough butter and salt. You guys are funny. Yes. But the kumei will roast these, the stalks and the roots, and eat that. These, remember I was mentioning, these leaves are extremely fibrous. Really, I don't know if you get the sense of how thick this is. But these were also, the leaves were also dried and pounded and soaked and then rolled, and twisted into fibers. So I would kind of take the flesh of these, rather long leaves and make basically cord from it. It kind of braided and woven fibers that they could be used for making fish nets or rabbit nets or rope, shoes, clothing. Imagine whatever you might use a fiber for. That is how this plant was used. So it had quite a bit of, it was very useful. There was a lot of need for a plant like this, and but you can imagine they grow extremely slowly. I read in cultivating that it can take 5 years for a plant like this in a nursery to just get to a 2-gallon pot size. So 20 to 30 years before it throws up their stalk. So this plant is quite old in that sense, and it's at its maturity. So there's a balance there of harvesting it too soon, or just maybe harvesting it partially for those important uses. So there we go. The Shaw's agave, or coastal agave. And I don't know, I could look at this plant. It's just so beautiful. And I haven't been able to get up close to one in a long time. I did this, I scoped this out for you guys. And the one at the visitor center, which please go on to our website and sign up for the e-news so you can get this kind of information. Let me see, I have some questions there. So you can see these sort of things. So the one at the visitor is a beautiful flower. So yes, 1 stalk in its lifetime per rosette. So that's it. Once it flowers, and let me take this over here a little better for you. Actually, here's an old stalk having fallen off. You can see that one there. Died, sent up its stalk, and died. 1 stalk in a lifetime. That's right. The coastal agave, Shaw's agave. And does a pup take as long to flower? It's a good question, Bob. I don't know. I'm going to guess maybe not. I don't know. Since these are much smaller stalks and the rosettes that they are coming from are a little smaller. So maybe not 20 to 30 years. That's a very good question. All right, you guys have some good questions today, some great observations. Again, the Shaw's Agave, native and wild in Baja. In San Diego, just a few locations. Tijuana Estuary, Borderfield, one of them, but Cabrillo, Torrey Pines, someone mentioned Balboa Park possibly, I think up in Encinitas at the Botanical Gardens, some there as well. Now, there are many species of agave, so this is the showy, named for Henry Shaw, who is the founder of the Missouri Botanical Garden. So, I did not know that until I did my research for this. Never knew why it was called Shaw's Agave. I assumed it was someone named Shaw. Henry Shaw. And interesting, he was the founder of the Missouri Botanical Garden. Maybe he was from there. But these are not located in Missouri. Not originally from Missouri. What's its northern border? San Diego County, from what I understand, Donna. From what I understand, San Diego County. North part of the county. So, got your guys back on here. Hold on a second here. Let's see. So I can do my closing in person. So, if you tuned in late or you're tuning in later and you have any questions about the coastal agave, the Shaw's Agave, feel free to type them into the comment section and I'll get back to you with that. It's been a pleasure, as always, to deliver these programs to you. While we're all kind of still, sheltering in place in a sense. And it's given me a chance to get to know some of these plants a little bit better and show places that we wouldn't normally be able to take people, as I try to choose places off trail that for our audience. So we look forward to seeing you again for Lunchtime Live. Check out our Facebook page for upcoming events when we have them. And I hope everyone is having a wonderful fall season, end of the getting towards the Halloween season. And hopefully next week I'll have a nice surprise for you for maybe what we'll call the Halloween edition of Lunchtime Live. So again, thank you all. Stay well. Yeah, stay well, everyone. Thanks for your questions and comments. And if you think of any more after the show later, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll get back to you. All right. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you next week.